What's up, Facebook? We are recording our podcast and we're inviting you all to get a little bit of behind the scenes look at how we put on the show. So if you're watching this right now on our Southern Kitchen Facebook page, feel free to comment and let us know if you have any thoughts, questions, or suggestions, and we will kick it right off now with our normal podcast program. Welcome to Sunday Supper. I didn't expect to see y'all here.
What a pleasant surprise.
Once again. You are joining us today for our Spring Cocktails episode. My name is Mike Jordan, as always.
Ashley Twist Cole.
And Kate Williams.
And we are editors at SouthernKitchen.com. And Sunday Supper, we are going to talk about great cocktails that are perfect for spring drinking in the South. And we're also going to prepare a couple of our favorites that we individually appreciate for what they are. This part of our program, it is sponsored by Kohler Signature Stores by PDI. Make clean up a breeze with Kohler's Gentleman's Bar Sink Faucet in the Artifacts collection, which features a vintage artisan-inspired top-mount handle, a temperature memory system, ceramic disc valves that exceed longevity standards, plus much more. Now, let's kick off the program.
I think we're like in the process of getting a gentleman's bar. Speaking of gentleman's bar, on today's podcast, we've got lots of liquors and some glassware and cutting boards and pretty much everything you need to make cocktails at home, aside from the actual gentleman's bar.
I would think I was a gentleman, but you never know. I would say that especially what we have here looks very gentleman's bar-esque also. Yep. It's a gentlemanly kind of thing. But we have the ladies here who are actually going to be making the drinks. That's right. So expand your mind south. It's not all about who makes the drinks, but how they're done. But we've survived winter, not officially, but almost. So it's almost there. Mm-hmm. And traditionally, since it's associated with heavier drinks, we're giving people some ideas and talking about some of our springier things, correct?
Yep.
All right. So, what are we drinking for our green time of year? Because that's always a green beer, and green beer is fine, I guess.
Is it fine?
Well, it has a story, so that's the key, is that I know St. Patrick's Day is right around the corner. I know spring is also right around the corner, and green beer always happens to show up. But we have a little bit of history of green beer that I would like to share from my smartphone.
Okay.
Because I did the research. I would like everyone to know that. But there's a gentleman named Professor Thomas H. Curtin, that's C-U-R-T-I-N, not like the
drapery.
Yes.
Jinx.
Curtin.
Yep, I need you to work on being in sync with us when we do our things.
Sorry.
But Professor Dr. Thomas Curtin, a physician who made green beer for his clubhouse in New York. So it's not Southern, in case you all didn't know that green beer was not.
Irish.
Yeah, well, it has something to do with the Irish, you may have heard. It was served to patriotic Irishmen and anyone else who wanted to drink a green brew. And so it was basically a regular beer, apparently, that had not been colored locally and tastes like beer but looks like paint. So,
delicious.
Yeah, that is what we want in our bodies.
I usually, when I'm about to drink a cocktail, I think to myself, this looks like paint. I would love it.
Yum.
But so did they not just use food color? Like, did food coloring exist? What year was this again?
This was the 40s, 50s. 1926 was when it really got big, but it looks like it was originally started up in 1914. So we are 104 years old into the
green
creation.
Beer movement.
Yeah, this beer's been sitting on the shelf for 104 years old.
And that's why it's green.
So that's the true history. I mean, let's not lie to the people. I mean, let's tell them what's really
happening. Let's start spreading our own history.
So what did he use to dye it green?
Well, we're going to get to that in a certain part of our program. Just so we know that the history does have something to do with the great Irish people.
Okay.
But it's 104 years old, based out of New York City. So my thing about green beers, I know you normally would use a light beer for it.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And the coloring has more to do with the color blue. But again, that's something that we have some information that might give you more pause to not drink green beer, at least if you still live in 1914.
Incentive to stay tuned and listen.
It is absolutely that. So, but since we are moving up and onward from green beer, we thought that we would ask our wonderful editor-in-chief, Ashley Twist Cole, to give us an example of one of her favorite, if I can call it that?
Yeah, absolutely, you can call it that.
All right.
For sure. So real quick, too, even before that, in college, I used to carry around, I'm very passionate about St. Patrick's Day because any excuse to drink anything festive is what I'm all about. I used to carry around a little thing of food coloring all day.
Like Beyonce's hot sauce?
On St. Patrick's Day. And so when we would go out in Athens, Georgia, where I went to school, we could just go kind of drop the green food coloring
in other people's drinks.
In other people's drinks and our own, so that, if we were at an establishment that didn't have the green beer, not a problem.
You could make it happen. That is awesome. That's so people of you.
I know. I'm really a woman of the
Did you warn people, or were you roofing them with green food coloring?
Stay tuned.
We don't really talk about the first rule of Sunday supper is you don't really talk about the past.
I definitely warn people because people would see our green beer and be like, "Oh my gosh, how did you get this green beer? This place isn't serving that." And I'd be like, "Okay, you want it? Bloop, there you go."
How many droplets did you?
You really just need one or two.
Okay.
Especially if you're using a light beer. But anyway, so moving on, upward and onward from green beer in the world, we are going to talk about one of my favorite cocktails, which is The Last Word.
Yes.
And I actually have one of my favorite cocktail books here with me, Speak Easy. So we're reading today a little bit, but this is written more eloquently than I could probably talk about The Last Word. So I'll just give you a little brief kind of history and intro to The Last Word. And I love the beginning sentence. So Last Word is a mishmash of high-octane fuels, yet it comes out surprisingly balanced and delicate. Beware, to have many, and this cocktail will have the last word. But
that's what I thought the name was about anyway.
So. Well, and here's the kind of extra part of that is allegedly this Prohibition-era cocktail's origins are traced back to the Detroit Athletic Club, where it was invented by a gentleman named Frank Fogarty. And he was said to be, and I quote, a very fine monologue artist, which is how I hope you guys will later remember me.
Definitely.
Which is probably how the drink got his name. So basically, legend is that this bartender was very verbose and he had the last word, so he also made the last word.
Yes. Chattermouth.
Yeah, that's right. But this drink is, it has green chartreuse, Luxardo maraschino liqueur, and gin, as well as some lime. So really the lime and the green chartreuse is where that green color comes from. So it's a little bit more festive for St. Patrick's Day. You don't have to carry around some green food coloring in your bag or your pocket.
So you still should.
You can. I encourage it. But so we're going to go ahead and mix this up. We have some Luxardo here in studio with us. We have some Sutler's gin, which, Mike, while I'm putting some ice in, can you just talk a little bit about this gin? And then I also have green chartreuse and my lime ready to go.
Absolutely. So Sutler's Gin, I picked this up in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. It is distilled locally, micro distillery. You go in and it definitely smells like fresh gin is being made. But one of the coolest things is not just the flavor of it. It is not as particularly dry as, say, your London dry gins would be, but it does get very herbaceous. So I thought it would be really good for this since we're dealing with herbal stuff. And I think, let me finish up and say, this is a ceramic bottle, so that's what kind of makes it very funky. I think that it's expensive to make, but they are investing in the look as well as the flavor. But talking about the herbal stuff, green chartreuse is something I don't think a lot of people kind of know what's up with green chartreuse. We do.
Can I go ahead and shake while you talk?
Please shake, yes. That's real shake action, That's what you should hear. Yeah. Now, what are you doing when you're shaking? Is there a method to shaking a cocktail such as The Last Word?
Is there a method? I mean, really shake vigorously. You want to make sure that you're mixing everything together. And the interesting thing about this, actually, typically you stir a cocktail that is all alcohol, right? But we've got lime, we've got Luxardo, which is a little bit sticky. So we want to really shake this one up, get it nice and frothy, get everything mixed in together.
Is that something you normally do with fruit juice? Okay.
Yes, you do. Yeah, you usually shake up fruit juice.
Right.
That's your rule of thumb.
Yeah. Stir with bitters, shake with juices is what I tend to see. And the lovely cocktail glasses, which I happen to know whose house they came from. But, I think it's important that we also talk about with The Last Word, it comes in a coupe glass that should be served. So it's an up martini glass, tends to be a little bit small.
It's small because it's got the what do they call it, high octane fuel.
That is correct. That's what the book says.
3 liquors here just being offset with a little bit of that citrus, equal parts, 1 ounce, 1 ounce, 1 ounce, and 1 ounce.
Excellent.
So it's going to get you going.
But it's equal parts. So again, that's one of the things that I think, and when you're making a cocktail, sometimes they can get a little bit complicated. With this, you really just need the 4 core ingredients.
Right.
So you can't go wrong as long as they are in equal parts. You want a smaller drink, use less. You want a bigger drink, think carefully, but you can do that if you want.
This is a good one too because it really is a great drink to finish the evening out with because it's simple. Maybe you've already been, having a little fun, and you want to just have your last word, and it's perfect for that. And usually in my house, 1 last word turns into 2 last words, and then the rest is no. But so let's talk about, Mike. You brought some thyme here, which I have not used thyme in a last word before, but I'm very intrigued by this because you mentioned the green chartreuse has that very herbal essence to it, and so it naturally makes sense to put some thyme in there. So can you talk about kind of how you came up with this?
It was a thought of mine because first I was just so interested in green chartreuse. It's something that when you see it in someone's house, you're kind of like, oh, what do you know about making drinks? And so looking at the background of it, it's an herbal liqueur and made by monks, correct?
French monks.
French monks.
That's right.
Yes, they won't give up the recipe. They're like Coca-Cola, except more religious. And they basically have, I don't know. But
they've got a sweet deal going in France
drinking
with this because
for, the cause.
That's right. And green chartreuse is not cheap, y'all.
No, it's not.
Unless you know
There's
secret.
a place in south of Atlanta, we won't say what
Don't tell
area,
people.
but it's very, very inexpensive.
Okay.
I put thyme in mind because I wanted the chartreuse to kind of match up with a good garnish. And looking at it right now, there's not a garnish in it. I haven't normally seen what the garnish is.
Usually it's a lime wedge.
Right.
But I tend to not do it. But the thyme is really nice because it's green and the drink is that light, really bright. It's almost yellow, but it's very limey green.
So this gives it a little bit more of the green color, and it also adds the herbal thing. And the size of these small little thyme parts fit perfectly into the thing.
We're ready
so
to
what
drink.
you do is
Slap at the
smack
thyme.
them first, give it a little drag around the rim just so it can pick up as much or as little of that herb as possible. The slapping wakes up your herbs, so you can do the same thing with mint if you're making a drink that can use a mint garnish.
Like a mojito.
Yep, it gets the oil activated.
Also, it's just kind of fun
You
to
look
do, and
important.
you look
Yeah.
real. You look legitimate.
But see that? It's kind of like, if we're looking down at our glasses and they each have a tiny little sprig of thyme, it feels springy.
It does. Cheers.
Cheers.
To the last word.
Cheers to the last word and a grown-up green St. Patrick's Day drink.
Right, without the droplets.
But you could put green food coloring in this if you wanted to.
I mean, there are no rules on St. Patrick's Day. It's kind of what I operate.
All right, now that is really, really good.
Yum.
I have been guilty of using bottled lime juice, and I was called out by Ashley on Instagram about that.
And real life, which is harsher.
It makes a big difference to have the fresh lime in there, I would say.
I would say 9 times out of 10, fresh lime juice is the way to go versus, I don't even have bottled in my house.
Yeah, it's for lazy nights. Is this your speed of cocktail?
I love this drink, and in fact, my favorite version of this drink has mezcal in it instead of gin.
What's the name of that? It has a kind of like funky name too.
Well,
like
the name at the bar down the street from my house is called The Last Year, but I think that they might have made that up.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not sure, but it adds a smokiness to it.
So how would you guys describe this drink now, sans mezcal?
Without mezcal, I would say that this drink itself is, it seems like the grass is growing. And so that's another reason why I like to add the thyme on top, because green chartreuse is a hard drink to describe if you've never tasted it.
Right.
So this is a good way to introduce it in a drink. And it also, for a lot of people who think gin was for college days only, it makes you more of an adult with your gin kind of lifestyle that you can now get back into.
It surprisingly doesn't taste gin. Everything is really well balanced. It's bright, it's citrusy, very springy. And I really like the thyme that you added
really
here
nice.
too. It's really nice. It's a pro move, Mr. Jordan.
I try to take it seriously when I get home and, the time calls for a drink, but that's, to me, it just made a lot of sense. And I like also the garnishment. It's part of the things of when you have your proper ingredients, you have your proper material, which, by the way, We are using Craft House gear to create our drinks.
We are, everything that we have on the table in terms of making the drinks, from the ice bucket to the shaker set to the mixer set, is available at southernkitchen.com, and these are all Craft House by Fortessa, which is one of our favorite barware lines. It was developed by professionals, really sleek, really nice, really easy to clean, which is really great. So we love that.
Pro style. Now the cocktail glasses, the coupes, you're going to have to come to my house if you want to drink out of those. Those are not for sale. Everything's for sale. Make me an offer and we'll talk. But yeah, so that's a great spring cocktail. Any other thoughts about, another gin kind of drink, or is this really like our go-to because it's St. Patrick's coming up? Would this cause more trouble on St. Patrick's Day, though, as well?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, because it is boozy.
Proceed with caution.
I'm getting warm in the chest right now, actually.
Yes.
So, all right, well, we have another beverage that we're going to make, too, and this was an idea of our awesome recipe editor. That's actually Jeffrey's title. I'm stealing stuff from him. But recipe person and associate editor Kate.
Recipe person. That should be my new title.
You are.
Kate Williams, recipe person.
This episode is going to be very interesting as we continue to drink.
It's already kind of like it's blossoming.
So we were talking about adult versions of drinks, or grown-up versions of drinks we used to drink in college, which is, we started talking about that with the St. Patrick's Day thing, and they were like, what's something else we used to drink all the time in college? Oh, Jack and Coke.
Right.
It's easy to drink, easy to order. It's a little fizzy, which is nice for springtime. But, Coke, it isn't always the best tasting thing, and it could taste a little saccharine at times. We can make it better.
We can hype it up, right? Yeah. We can make some adjustments.
So what we're doing is we're making, it's a highball cocktail, so it's going to have fizzy water in it, just like a Jack and Coke would.
Which is so springy.
So springy. And that it actually, like, a lot of people think you can't drink whiskey or dark rums in the spring and summertime, but you really definitely can. Especially, if you're adding bubbly water to it, or just drinking it straight up with ice, it's fine.
And in Jamaica, they don't stop drinking rum.
That's right. They don't. It's hot all year round.
There are no rules. No. This isn't like a white pants after Easter or before Easter. I don't even know the rules.
We can wear white pants whenever we want to.
There are no rules
here. So we're going to use a local whiskey in here. This is the Fiddler Bourbon Whiskey from American Spirit Works Distillery in Atlanta.
If we're going to do Cokey kind of products,
might as well do ATL. So we've mixed that in with some molasses. And the molasses, instead of using simple syrup or some other kind of sweetener, we thought the molasses would kind of taste a little bit more spicy, like a Coca-Cola would. And then we've added in some Angostura bitters, which are kind of your standard bitter that you would see at any bar, and a little bit of these ginger bitters that we found. They're also from Atlanta, 1821 bitters. They make really interesting, delicious bitters.
Two awesome ladies who are in there making it. You can meet them anytime you go to Pont City Market. They're great.
We've got, so Jack and Coke, when we were talking about it, is very Southern, right? You've got your Jack Daniels from Tennessee, and you've got your Coca-Cola from Atlanta, but we're doing it similarly, right? We've got Southern-based bitters. We've got Southern-based liquors. We are just
doing all the way down. It's going down in one way or the other. It's definitely going down. We haven't tasted this.
This is an experiment, y'all.
And it's good to do it live because you'll get the truth about whether or not Kate should be making drinks or making biscuits and incredibly complex things. So this is the test. No pressure, Kate. No pressure.
So I mixed up all those things that I just mentioned together in a mixing glass, but if you were going to do this at home, you could just mix it in your cup.
And that was molasses, bourbon.
But should you stir it? You should. Okay. You probably should, right? Because you've got the molasses.
Well, I just mean, but you could put it all in a glass and just stir it and then add your ice. And,
you're right.
Very nice.
Just trying to reduce the amount of dishes you're going to have to wash later. If you've had like 4 drinks, do you really want to wash dishes?
No. They won't be washed well if you do that. By the way, can we give a shout out to Kate going commando with the ice over here?
Ashley did it too.
I did it too. I tried with the scoop and it just, it was tough.
Yeah. Well, this is more Southern anyway.
This is how you get to know people, right?
Should we tell everyone what we're drinking out of here too?
Yeah, mason jars. This is what is more Southern in spring than drinking Jack and Coke-ish out of a mason jar. I would also give a shout out to the color that you seem to have nailed. when you're looking at what we're starting with as a base before we add in our sparkly stuff.
The color of Coca-Cola.
It really is. I'm starting to think we have a business idea here that we could become trillionaires.
I'm gonna hand this back to you.
Yes, thank you. All right.
Now in for sparkling water, we're using LaCroix Pure today.
Yep, pure. Not plain.
Pure.
Listen to that fizzy.
Listen to that fizzy. Did you hear that? I'm getting excited about the prospects here.
I'm getting really excited about this.
All right.
Like, I knew what was happening with the last word, but this is uncharted territory.
This is weird. This could go exactly right, or, Kate, you might need to find somewhere to be after this.
That's a really good point, though, like, just kind of about cocktails in general. It's the experimentation is really the most fun part. You can't go wrong. Even if you go wrong, you're learning and you can continue to develop. Maybe this flavor wasn't quite right. You can tweak here. You can try a different liquor, a different bitter, different amounts. Cocktail making is really intimidating to people because they feel like they don't understand ratios and measurements and flavors, but it's really just like cooking in the fact that you should test and experiment and try things and tweak it. And once you kind of know your basics, just like with cooking or baking, you can adjust ratios and you can come up with some really fun, different things.
Yep.
Right, and if it doesn't taste good, just change it next time.
That's right.
And just drink the alcohol anyway, because you deserve the punishment.
Because you paid for it.
Yeah. All right. Should we squeeze the lime?
I squeezed a little lime and I rubbed the rim. So
Oh, yes.
I'm going to taste this.
Taste it and then we'll drop the lime in next.
Cheers.
Cheers. These are the giant limes here we're using.
I'm going to just move it.
I think it could be a little sweeter.
I think.
But it's there. Like the base of it is like there. I think the molasses is shining. I'm going to add a little bit of, no, I'm not going to add any lime because my lime just fell inside.
It kind of tastes like a flat Coca-Cola.
It does.
Yeah.
Well, and that's, I think, shout out to LaCroix for having delicious flavors, but it's not the best cocktail mixing soda
Agreed.
water. It gets flat really fast.
It does.
So a better choice would have been just some straight up club soda, probably.
Yeah.
And it would be less flat that way, I think.
Yeah. The flavor, though, is
Pretty cokey.
You know what?
Cokey.
I needed it to get down to the bottom because as we get to the bottom and more of that sweetness is coming up and through.
Yep.
This is very good though.
Yeah, it worked.
Yeah.
All right.
Beautiful.
Should we put this recipe up on Southern Kitchen?
We should.
Tweak
I
it a
wrote
little
it
bit.
down.
Yeah.
Okay. A brand new recipe, never before seen.
Yeah, we did it
Or
right
drank.
here. We did it live. We did it
did it
absolutely
live.
live. Also, again, hello to the Facebook Live folks out there. Let us know if you have any comments. And really, I think that going back to, again, the college, this is also, it brings us back to the college age of, again, we stopped drinking gin when we grow up. We don't really think it looks cool to drink Jack and Coke, but I could see people of all ages sitting on their porch, their southern home.
All ages above 21.
Yeah, as long as you're legal, but we don't want to encourage
That's right.
illegal activity.
That's right.
But these are both kind of like really springy, and I think the lime also did something to
Yep.
where like now I'm in the sense of it's not just Jack and Coke-ish, it is also something that tastes like it came out of a garden.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm into it.
Shout out to Kate,
Yeah.
man. I was doubting.
Why do you ever doubt me?
I don't. I really.
I bring
just
in my
like,
desserts all the time and you like them.
Yeah, Kate makes an incredible pie crust, seriously, and anything that goes in it. So, that gives us that.
So
now, what
we're
about-
drunk.
We are definitely feeling differently than we started. I'm going to switch back to my last word, but I wanted to also, we need to bring up beer and wine because those are the obvious things that a lot of people can reach to. They're available in your local stores. We have some fantastic products from southernkitchen.com available right now in the shop. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah. So, spring is coming. A lot of the country is getting hit with winter weather right now, but we're dreaming of spring. And along with that comes picnics and wine drinking. And it's really tough to take your wine outside. So Savaro is a brand that we have on Southern Kitchen, and they make these amazing 25-ounce stainless steel bottles that are perfect for on the go. Perfect for picnicking, and they come in white or true stainless steel color, and they hold an entire bottle of wine.
Yes.
So your picnic and pool wine transporting problems are solved. You're welcome. We'll see you later. So these are really, really great. Love these. Just wanted to talk about them for a quick moment.
Yep. So again, you're
Rosé
going to be
all day.
outside. You're going to be drinking rosé.
That's right.
I don't know if it makes sense to hide your beer in one of these, but if you're fancy enough,
You
can
could.
do it.
People drink out of Yeti cups, put beer in Yeti cups for to go, walking around, walking to the pool.
You just don't want to put the cap on, I would imagine,
right.
because of carbonation.
Yeah, exactly right.
Okay, same thing would be for a sparkling rosé. I mean, explosions, not really the best thing for when you can't really handle adult situations because you've been drinking. So these are things we know. Any beers that you all would recommend, southern beers that you like particularly for spring?
We've been drinking a lot of sours recently. What is the name of that new sour from Monday night that they just released?
That is Hello Beautiful.
That is really good. It's like
wild
little
blueberry
berry and actually tastes a little funky.
Yep. I like Three Taverns, which is in Decatur, Georgia, correct? They have, what is it, Lord Grey? It's like the Earl Grey sour. Sours are generally like my spring, kind of like get me back, but I can drink a sour beer all year round. Do you like sours?
I don't. I'm going out on the boat and I'm floating down the hooch and I am drinking emergency drinking beer because that's what it was designed for.
Wild Heaven.
Emergency situation. I'm drinking Wild Heaven Brewery's emergency drinking beer from their amazing can, bright yellow, spotted a mile away.
Avondale Estates, Georgia.
That is 100% the appropriate time to drink emergency drinking beer.
And also all three of these beers, one thing I'll say is that they are great for if you have a yard that needs to be cut. All three of these beers are really good for like grass cutting weather. And grass is growing back right now, spring.
You know what, I was just thinking, we were drinking, doing yard work last weekend when it was still warm, and we're drinking the Founders Session IPA, the all day IPA. That one is excellent. It's like, you can't tell you're drinking a session beer. It actually tastes like you're drinking a 7% IPA, but it's really like under 5.
Session beers, for folks who are not familiar with this new hipster terminology that's getting out there, means you can drink several of them. You are you are having a session
Is that
of beer.
true?
Yes.
I love that.
Oh
my gosh, that's like that time that I learned that you don't drink wine, you taste wine.
All day,
These are not sessionable cocktails, these last words are not.
I never knew. I thought it was a beer term that I was just like not cool enough, and I was too scared to ask.
There are some of those, because when they call certain beers like bready, and you hear like someone say, oh, that beer is very bready, and so if you don't know the difference, you think, oh, like yeasty or like it's bread, but it's actually Brett, B-R-E-T, which is more about the type of yeast that's going in.
It's like a Belgian, like the typical Belgian beer has Brett in it, so if you think like, what does a Belgian beer taste like? Brett.
And I walked around because I heard bready, and so I was I was trying to impress people and saying like, you taste the bread in this beer, bro? Like this is very bready. Like this is nature's own right here. This is honey wheat, which is my favorite.
Sarah Lee.
Sarah Lee is making great beer these days. But so I would say those are good beers. Wine-wise, is it just rosé season?
It's always rosé season, but anything sparkling is really nice. A nice Sauvignon Blanc kind of brings out like brightness, lightness. If you're a Pinot Grigio drinker, I think you drink Pinot Grigio like all year round. But it's also time for a nice. I actually love Lambrusco, which is a sparkling red wine, which is like slowly inching its way into everyone's lives. But when I went to Italy, I absolutely fell in love with Lambrusco. So whenever I see it, I get it. So it's great to drink that. And then, you want to kind of head towards your lighter wines, your Chiantis and your Pinot Noirs and... wine you can drink wine all the time depending on your
but a
mood
Malbec in the sunlight is probably gonna make you pay for it.
You're like your Zinfandel is probably not what you want by the pool.
If you think about what it tastes like too, you're just like, it's hot. I just like don't.
Right.
It doesn't sound good right now.
But it's still, because it's not necessarily summertime hot, your wine doesn't need to be,
cold.
So you could still kind of get away with some kind of medium body. Is this medium body time for the
medium body?
Okay.
Yeah.
But again, like, you think about what sounds good to you in the moment.
Right.
Like, it's all up,
That's
if
all
you
that
really
matters.
Want to drink a Malbec today, go for it.
Well, it's
fine.
like 50 degrees right now in
today
Atlanta.
we can drink.
It's ridiculous. We can drink whatever you want to.
So let's circle back to the mystery of earlier in the show about the green beer.
I think that this
and
is
our Bless Your Heart moment.
Exactly the right time for our Bless Your Heart moment, which we do every episode here at Sunday Supper. Our man, Dr. Thomas Curtin. So, if you remember and if you've been hanging in with us, well, thanks for being here. But we said this guy, Thomas Curtin, he was making this green beer. And we said that blue was the color, but this guy was using something called wash blue. And wash blue is actually iron powder, which is used to whiten clothing. And the only thing I know that whitens clothing is bleach. And I don't know if anyone has any experience with drinking iron powder, but it sounds like poison.
It does sound like poison.
And was it poison?
They weren't really. Okay, so from my notes, I saw that in an article from that time, the doctor remains vague about his recipe. So the doctor not telling you that there's something that could be perceived as poison maybe was a liability kind of issue, but it definitely sounds like if it could bleach your clothes, it could bleach your intestines.
Green beer was the last word.
You would have the last word. You would have the last word. But it also, I read the story at Food and Wine, and one of the things it said that, again, you use your blue food coloring because it yields the best results of green against light beer's natural yellowish hue. So you still want to use a yellow light beer, but just don't use blue that you would use with denim.
Like blue dye.
Yeah, so don't do that. So
bless your heart, green beer?
Dr. Thomas Curtin, like rest in peace and bless your heart. I think both of those apply to him. So.
Yep.
That's how we have.
Thank God it's Friday.
Yeah, thank God it's Friday because we can finish these cocktails. For all of our listeners, thank you for tuning in. For our Facebook Live friends, thank you as well. And that will do it for us at Sunday Supper this week. We'd love to hear from you as always. You can reach out to us with feedback at editor@southernkitchen.com. And also, please subscribe to our podcast wherever you get your podcast. And hit those like buttons on Facebook to make sure that you keep up with us. And until next time,
I'm Kate.
I'm Ashley.
And I'm Mike. And remember, green does not always mean good.
Cheers.
Cheers again.